You're tuned in to the Vintage House Show, home to the original stories of the history of house music as told by the legends, pioneers, and icons. Hosted by Kevin Mega McFall, Lori Branch, and Lauren Lowry.
All right. Hey, Dana.
Hey, Laura. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the Vintage House Show.
Thank you so much.
I think you've been on once before. Is that right?
I can't recall.
It was a long time ago.
Long time ago. Yes.
So this conversation is way overdue. I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank everybody for watching. This is our 10th year. We're going into our 10th year of Vintage House.
Wow, how time flies. Isn't that something?
It is something. Our first show was it was 2015 at Northwestern Studio, and Lauren.
I remember. Yes. Yeah. Yes, I remember. I remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're excited to go into this 10th year as the year winds down, and I hope everybody is enjoying the holiday season as we get started. I feel like I want to put my Christmas tree up right now because it's been a dark period.
You know, it has. True. It has for me and my family as well. It's been very dark, with the death of my brother unexpectedly.
Oh, so sorry.
And, it's my family. My sister, she's deceased. She's been deceased for quite some time. She was the Christmas person in my family.
Yeah. You always need somebody to pull it together.
She and the nieces and nephews and everybody, they would, all get together the day after Thanksgiving, and they would put up the Christmas tree and they would start decorating the house.
Yeah, it's time. Are you going to put up a tree?
I'm not doing any of that. I'm going to be honest. I used to do all of that, but at this point, I'm far from interested. I had thought about it and I struggled with it. I said, well, let me go and get a flock tree. I said, I'll get a gold flock tree and I'll do red ornaments. But, that was a fleeting thought.
Well, you put some thought into that.
Yeah, I did. I really did. And I just conceded and said, I'm not going to put up a tree this year.
Okay.
Well, that may change because we still have 4 weeks today. I don't know if anybody's a Catholic, but today is the first day of Advent.
Oh, good. So we got to start a chocolate thing.
Right. So we have a little time yet.
Good. All right. Well, you have the flexibility and right to change your mind anytime you want to. Hey, well, let's get into it. Thanks again for coming. I'm glad we're not in the studio today because they're on sort of break at the college station.
Yes.
So we're just having this great conversation live.
Wonderful. I like it. Thank you.
Yeah, it makes it easy, right?
Yes.
But I want to get into your DJ career. Dana Powell has long history in Chicago DJ clubs. I know that I first encountered you, I think either was at Stop and Drink or Generator. We'll get there.
Stop and Drink was precursor to Generator. So.
Yes. And I drove past that place the other day. I was like, it's still here. I don't know.
I will tell you a secret. I wanted to steal the sign off the building. I really did. Yeah, and I had plotted to do that. Because
pretty cool sign.
And it's a vintage sign. It's probably worth a fortune right now.
Yeah.
I'll say that, but I did not do it, everybody. I didn't do it.
It's still there. I just drove past and saw it the other day, and I was telling my kid about the story of Stop and Drink when we were having gay parties there. I don't know if they still do that, if they have gay parties.
I don't know. I haven't been in the structure in years.
Where is Stop and Drink?
It was Clark.
Yeah,
just
Clark
south
Street.
of Chicago Avenue.
That's right. So if you ever drive past Chicago Avenue and Clark Street, you'll see a big sign on the west side of the street that says Stop and Drink. It's really beautiful. It was a great bar, huge bar that went sort of all around. Was a round bar.
Like an old 30s bar, with the big bar, oval bar. And inside was the where the bartenders were and the cash registers and everything. And the lower parts is where all the alcohol was.
Where was the DJ? I can't remember.
So it was Tyrone Mix and I.
I said, where was it?
The DJ booth. Okay, so when you walked in the club, immediately to the left, was the DJ booth.
Okay.
Immediately to the left was the DJ booth.
That's right.
Right there. Originally, it was no DJ booth. It was just an open floor.
Yeah.
As most places was. And then that's when Tyrone decided, hey, let's build a DJ booth here. And that's what happened. And that's how the DJ booth came.
We're going to talk about Tyrone Mix. But first, let's get into your history. Dana, you grew up in Gary, Indiana.
I did.
Gary is just a short drive from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if the nation or the country understands like the distance, but there was a
Right.
lot of back and forth.
It's only about 30 miles difference
Yeah.
from to downtown Chicago from Gary, Indiana.
Talk about your neighborhood. Where'd you grow up in Gary?
I grew up in what was known as Midtown in Gary. It was bungalows. We had a park that was a very functional park, swimming pool, basketball court. I mean, a complete park. In the earlier years, I learned to swim in that park. And I was 5 years old or so.
Yeah.
And when we started swimming lessons, and it was a really, really, how can I put this, Polish Romanian community.
Oh, okay.
And my neighbors were Polish and Romanian. And
sounds pretty integrated, even back then.
Oh, absolutely. It's integrated and segregated at the same time.
Okay.
In my mother's day, there was no one African American, Black, whatever we want to call ourselves these days, could live in that community.
Yeah.
Okay. It was the later when things started opening up a little bit better, and I was I want to say perhaps 11, 12 years old. You know, we started having baseball games, major league. Well, no, not minor league. How do you put it? Games in the park. So that drew a lot into our community. In terms of the educational system, classic Catholic regimentation. The public school in Gary was known for the William Wirt system, which was one of the models for the rest of the country. It had one of the more advanced education systems in the whole United States of America. And a lot of people came around school districts to learn this particular method of education.
What's the name of it again?
It was William H. Wirt.
I remember hearing that.
Yes, of education. Gary, Indiana was strong in Catholic schools. I mean, we had about 1 million Catholic schools, almost one on every corner.
Wow.
And there was a lot of people who attended. Well, it grew to be a very large city. You had the steel mill there. You had like Siemens Electronics was there. There was a lot of you had the Crush company was there.
Okay.
There's Superior Meats. It was a lot of different things. A lot of people just didn't know about it. They just know of the Gary that they see today, which is devastating. And, you know, I recall some years ago, a friend of mine, he was here visiting, and we drove down and we just looked and we was just shaking our heads from what it was when we were little bitty boys to what it is now.
Yeah.
You know? And it's a little different. But
I know that some of that was about the steel mills sort of moving out in the late 60s, early 70s.
Right. But we have to also embrace the social elimination of African American people. And it happens on many different levels.
In many cities,
the
too.
Black Mirror came in, the investment from white businesses began to happen, and I'm going to take a cheap plug here. No, I'm not going to do it. I want to, but I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
It's where, they decided that they wanted to leave the city because there was a Black mayor. So with us being there, I grew up in a home where everybody played a musical instrument.
Right. Okay. What did you play?
I played trumpet, trombone, and baritone.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. And my older sisters, it was 2 generations of us. So my older sisters, they were the oldest. And I remember, in the early part of the 70s when she brought home Isaac Hayes' Shaft album. And I sat there and I played that album, and I was just totally amazed. The orchestration, just captured me, And then there was this sound that came out of New York. It was a street sound. It was more so like what people would consider today to be funk, acid jazz, if you will.
Okay.
It was a street sound, and I loved it. So, me being a younger boy growing up in music, and playing a musical instrument, that was the thing. That was the thing for us to do back then. I was in a musical group. some things that some people don't even know about me.
Uh-huh.
I was in a musical group with some of the neighborhood guys.
What was your name? What was your group's name?
No, it was Dana Powell. It was I'm trying to remember the group
like
name.
The Dana Powell.
I'm trying. It was so long ago I can't remember the group's name.
Yeah.
But it was all of us from the neighborhood, and we all played instruments. And in fact, one of my friends still have a picture of that. I'm trying to get him to send me an image of that picture.
We got to get that picture
of us. And it was a groovy time. We grew up and music was our passion. It was, it was the getaway for a lot of people. My brother, whom I just spoke about, who made his transition, it was always he and I. And he was older than I was. So when he left the house, my mother said, "Take your brother with you," one of those type of things. So I was exposed to a whole lot of different types of music. And I loved it. And then later in life, I'm just fast forwarding on some things. And then later we're going to come back to some things. But later in life, I just got the taste for the music and to understand what music does to people. Because I remember going to clubs in those days, in the 70s. Yes, in the 70s, I was in the clubs. The thing was, it was me, my sister, that's a year older than I. She made her transition some years ago. And another friend of mine, and my cousin, and a friend of my sister's. We all got together one day, and we took our birth certificates and we changed the birth date on the birth certificate.
Oh, so many people did that.
Oh yeah, and then we went to the license bureau, and we got us a valid license. Well, it was an ID at the time. We got a valid ID with that altered birthday.
Your age.
So we were like 14, 15 years old, stating that we were 21.
And someone believed that?
It was a state ID. They had to honor it.
They had to honor it.
So that was one of the things. Okay. They would look, I knew they would look precariously at us, but such is life. What can you do? Here's his ID and it's saying that we are out of legal age. So they didn't buck it much.
Now, wait, so you're 14 years old and you're trying to get into a club where you need to be 21.
Oh, we did get into the
club. What club were you trying to get into?
Oh my God.
What's the one that stands out in your mind? Like you got that ID.
The first club that we went to was the Sheba. That was the very first one.
The Sheba.
Yes.
And that's in Gary?
No, that was in Chicago.
Also, you were making the trek from Gary to Chicago.
It was nothing to do. It was nothing to do. I would take my brother to work. My brother worked midnights. Okay. And I would take him to work and I would keep his car. And so we all piled up in the car. Oh yeah. Oh, we all piled up in the car and we were rocking and rolling. We were rocking and rolling. My brother, he was like, be careful. Da, da, da. And we was okay,
you don't have a license.
That type of thing. And it was another place. I'm trying to remember the name. Age, please forgive me. It was on Stony.
Okay.
Right at the Skyway. There was a club right there.
Okay.
It'll come to me in a minute. The name
There's
of
a few on that little strip.
Yes. And we used to frequent there a lot. Okay. So as time progressed, we started going to. We went to all the clubs, white, black, gay, straight. It didn't matter. We went to. It was for me to list all of the clubs that I went to back then. Yeah. Oh my God! It'll probably just chronicle the whole club scene of Chicago and Northwest Indiana.
Though. We really do try to track those because many of those were Black-owned businesses that were in the community that were patronized by Black people.
Yes.
And that's important to our history. It was also important to Chicago history and
absolutely.
Entrepreneurship.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
Let me ask you a question about the Sheba, since you remember that one. When you were going there at 14, what kind of music were they playing?
Well, the thing it was okay. I knew this question was going to come up, and let me answer it this way.
Yes. So 14 years old.
Everybody takes the different genres of music and they lump it together and they say disco. Okay?
So was it disco-ish? I mean, so you're 14 years old. So this is what, mid-70s?
I'm going to go back and I'm going to come forward.
Because I want to know how old you were.
Okay. So, disco was a derivative of discotheque. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that term came to light after World War II, when they started to ban live music and they began to play records. So the first official reference of that came out of France in 1960. Okay. Then the term disco was shortened and it was referenced as a style of dress. Okay. and a certain style of dress. I believe it was a female's dress with short arms and short legs. And you see that a lot in the disco period if you pay close attention. Later, I believe Playboy wrote an article or something, and then they referenced the clubs as disco. Okay.
Interesting.
So then this is how the word disco actually came into light. Now, through the 60s and well into the 70s, they both were going by discotheque and disco. It all depends on where you look at it. But it was well into the 70s, it was still being called discotheques. Okay. So I remember I had to be about, I want to say I would say 15 at this time. We had gone to a club in Chicago. It was an African-American club, Black club. And we got in there and they were playing songs like, I know Evelyn Champagne Kings, I don't know if it's right, was popular. You had stuff like from the, who was those people? Cameo. What is it?
Word Up.
No. It's before that. It was Find My Way.
Okay.
Then you had like Peaches and Herbs. They had a song. It wasn't Shake Your Groove Thing. They had another song that was extremely popular at that time too. And it was these type of songs was playing. This is before the infamous John Travolta and
Saturday Night Fever
coming out. It was
this was like 75, 76.
Yeah, this was a little bit before that. Right. It was a little bit before that.
Okay, so early.
And I want to say it was summertime because I don't recall us having any coats. Okay. So we went in this club and everybody was having a wonderful time. And Evelyn Champagne King, I don't know if it's right, was playing. I remember this vividly. And then suddenly the music stopped. So, you're dealing with a whole bunch of people standing around and there was no music. So this went on. Everybody's looking around. Next thing you know, it was the biggest fight that you ever wanted to see broke out. A semblance of, remembering Cooley High, the theater scene where everybody was in there fighting. It was similar to that. And I was like, oh my God, I got to get my sister and get out of here, because if something happened to this, I can never explain this to my mother, So I went to get her and then we rushed out of the club, but it was just fights everywhere. We was like pushing ourselves out of the way to get out of here. First of all, we had no business being there because we were underage. Number two, is something that happened to my sister. Yeah. My mother would have never forgiven me. And it was just too much. But this was the club culture. And I looked at it as the power of music and how music can can calm the savage beast, if you will, to coin that phrase. Because all up until that point, everybody was having a wonderful time. Nobody was angry. People was laughing. it was just all type of fun stuff going on until the music stopped. And then it took a little while after that for people to start misbehaving.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this was about 77, summer of 77, because I remember this because Saturday Night Fever had not come out yet.
Let me ask you this.
Out later in that year.
So Saturday Night Fever was sort of a turning point in the disco era. Correct. Where it was really starting to take off on an international basis. And I was a kid. I was like a freshman in high school, somewhere around there. And I remember also being swept up into that. And I had heard, Diana Ross, Love Hangover. There are many things that came out before Saturday Night Fever that were popular in the Black community, Latin community. Yes, correct. But that really exposed white people, I think, on a much more broad level, a commercial level, to disco. Correct. Do you remember when it came out?
Absolutely. I remember when it came out.
Did you go to the theater to see it?
Oh, I remember. Yes, I went to the theater with my brother to see it. And I was like, okay. One of the things that and I'm going to say this, a lot of people may get upset about this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think that was the introduction to the destruction of disco music.
I don't think that's a bad assessment. Tell me why.
Well, what happened at that point and thereafter, everything became disco, a disco house shoe, a disco Venetian blind, a disco pool stick. Everything became disco. And this is what I talk about. And I'm going to talk about disco culture in a second and to tie all of this in. And this is what I say when we talk about what was, when you asked the question earlier, what was the music that was being played back then? It was so many different genres of music, but it became what is known to me as a disco culture, as instead of a disco genre, because there was many different songs and many different genres. When you look at Cherchez La Femme, for instance, and it was considered a disco, a jazz type of song. When you want to go to, what's those guys that came out of Atlanta, a Brick, you know. Ain't gonna hurt nobody, and Duzik and all of that. You know, that was another disco jazz type of song. So you had funk, you had R&B, you had, I mean, because Philly International, if anybody says any of that was disco, you cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It was all R&B. Really? Know, we just lumped everything to disco.
It's kind of how we lump everything into house now.
Correct. Okay. And we're going to talk about that too in a little bit later.
We will definitely talk about that.
So getting back to the Saturday Night Fever. So now everybody began to just lump everything into disco, but nobody really understood the true disco sound. Disco had a certain sound of its own. You know, when you want to take a look at like one of my favorites would be Voyage, East to West. You hear that sound. You know, that was a true disco sound, if you will. You know, these are some of the things that a lot of people just did not understand. So I question, but I don't argue. You know, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I'm saying to myself, how can we just simply lump all of this together and say it's disco?
Let me ask you this. Well, it was Saturday Night Fever. I think the soundtrack was disco. I think about, you know, the Tramps, you know.
Right. We had the Tramps, which they made into disco.
Yeah. I mean, R&B, but certainly, you know.
Correct. And you had Kool and the Gang.
The Bee Gees, of course.
Right.
But was it, in my opinion, and let me know what you think, I think the sound was all right. I think the culture around it, sort of the exposure of like middle working class white people on Long Island, or, you know, wherever they were, really sort of framed it differently, so that I don't know if it was taken as seriously. And so I think they saw the commercialization when they saw white people.
Bingo. There you go.
Saying, we just need to slap the word disco on it.
There we go. Because even before that, now, during that period of time, when you go and get 12-inch records, there was extended versions.
That's right.
Or it's 12-inch version. It wasn't disco version until after all of this happened. Then everything became disco. But before that, it was a good example. It was extended version. It was 12-inch version. It was this, you know. Then after this, it was like, and then another benchmark that helped to destroy it was Star Wars. You know,
Star Wars.
Oh yes, when Michael came out with their disco record.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then they had this whole disco album. I don't know if anybody remembers that or not.
The Star Wars disco album.
They had a whole disco album. You know, it kind of reminds me of Vincent Montana, the Montana Sextet, that sound that they had. Yeah. You know, like 30 count of the close kind, whatever that sound was, and there was a couple more like that. It kind of reminded me much of that. And then I'm gonna tell you another story, and then this is how I feel that the destruction of disco came. Now, what was the girl right back where we started from? Why can't I remember her?
Candy Staten?
No. It was
I know who you're talking about.
Back where we started. I can't think. It'll come to me in a minute. At any rate, when she released this song, the record label refused to put out a 12-inch version of that.
Why is that?
They didn't feel that it would be successful. They didn't want to dump the money into it. So Maxine Nightingale, that's the girl.
That's right.
So so then when Barbara Pendleton came out with 24 Hours a Day, they said, we're not going to make the same mistake. We're going to put out a disco 12-inch on that. And so they ended up putting out a disco 12-inch on that. Okay. So what happened was, in the clubs, all this BG sound, and when Star Wars, the Mako group, they did this sound, they saw so much money because everybody gravitated towards it like you would not believe. Everybody was in love with disco. You know, everybody was in love with disco. The club started putting in the Saturday night movie dance floor in a lot of the different clubs where it lights up and do this. A lot of clubs did it. Even the Jeffrey Pub did it. You know, so it was so everything said, we'll just make everything disco. They was pumping out records like you would not believe. Every 3 seconds, there was a new record. And it just destroyed the whole craft because there were so many people who took their time and put a lot of production into the songs, and for it to be minimized by a group of people who were being very, very greedy. And they decided that they was just going to make money, and they was going to put all of this out so that they can make money.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. It was greed. It was a cash cow. You know, it reminds me of something that happened in the mid 90s when the emergence of hip hop came, and all of the DJs, they decided they was going to drop house music and they was going to jump on the hip hop bandwagon. Okay. And it was only a few DJs that was still playing house music at the time. This is the mid 90s. It was still a few places playing it. Everybody else jumped to the hip hop sound. And total disclosure, there was nothing new about hip hop sound. It was something that was emerging simultaneous to disco back in the 70s anyway. You know, they were doing their thing and they was developing that culture as a disco was developed. Now, here's the thing, though. Here's the clincher. The underground was the true work of dance music. It was the underground culture and the gay underground. And even what's the lady Corey Day would tell you that. That's how Shay LaFemme got its success. It wasn't because they took and they shopped it to the straight venues, whatever, because they did that and it didn't go anywhere. It's when they took that song and they gave it to the gay culture, it blew up. And it's still a dance floor classic today. So it was undeniable, some of these things that we may want to look at and may want to say this is this and this is that, but it's not actually what happened, you know. And I am very grateful to have come around and sneaking in, though, but I was a part of that movement. And then I started buying records because I was like, I had to go home because I just didn't have enough being in the clubs. I had to go home and I would play it. And I remember, you know, my sister and I, we would play these records and we would just be dancing and dancing and dancing, you know, to all of this. And it was a wonderful thing, you know. It was an absolutely wonderful thing at the time.
Yes, so, we used to do that. I have my little brother and I would do the same thing where.
Who, Carl?
Yeah, my little brother.
Carl and I know each other, don't you?
Well, see, you know, it's a small world. Everybody knows my little brother. I'm always surprised. But he is a musician as well. You know, he's a pianist and he, you know, he does a lot. He's been doing it since we were children and he's very good at it. But we were a musical family too. And we would do that game, Dana, where it's like, guess that tune. And we can do it all night. We're just playing music. So I feel sorry for sometimes the kids today that don't have sort of that tactile experience, where you're holding it and you're guessing and you're like dancing and there's no other thing except for you and the music. And I really, I encourage people to do that.
You know, and that's like the song Dynasty did. I don't want to be a freak, but I can't help myself. And it talks about a relationship between a dancer and the dance floor and the music. You know, and that's what it's strictly about. You know, when I hear those percussions, the sound hypnotized me. It's just my body moving, just the music and me. You know, it's just this relationship with music. And another one, Chic, my feet keeps dancing. It's the same thing with the relationship with music and dancing. At the end of the day, we can say whatever we want to say, but it's something about music that shapes us. No matter whether it's good or bad, you know, I hear frequently the stories on how house music has saved a lot of people. And I do believe that because I remember, you know, when I was at the warehouse, when I was going to the warehouse. And then another thing it's so much I want to talk about, but I can't get to it.
Take your time.
So when I was at the warehouse, I would like.
What year was that?
Around the parameter of the dance floor. I'll dance around. So when you, you know, on the main floor, you know, the DJ booth was in the front and it had glass over it or what have you. And then in the back where the people was hustling and doing all that, the hustle dance and doing all of that type of stuff. And these people were dancers. They were actual dancers. I mean, and they were good. They were damn good.
So you're talking about, and so for people who don't know what the warehouse was like, why don't you describe your entry into that? And like when you're talking about the dance floor. It's nice to paint a picture of it.
So I had come into Chicago one time, right? And I went
What
to
year was that?
You know, that was everybody's spot, Marshall Fields. And so I met this girl, and I didn't know she was a lesbian at the time. And but we, every time I come in, we'll see each other. We'll go and hang out up north and everything. So she told me, she said, I want to take you to this club.
Okay.
And I said, okay, like that. And so I didn't know that it was the warehouse that she was taking me to. Right. So then she took me to this club. We came in and we walked up the stairs, and I was scared shitless because I had marijuana in my pocket. And the guy, he frisked me. He said, "What is this, reefer?"
Oh, they did. They searched you?
Yeah. He said, "What is this, reefer?" I said, "Yeah, it's reefer."
I've never heard that before. People get searched.
Oh yeah. People, just a whole lot about the warehouse.
I don't remember that.
At any rate. Okay. Anyway, so we went upstairs, and then the first floor, top floor, if you will, was like a little sitting area.
Right.
Then you went down, and there was the main dance floor, and then you went in the back, and you went down, and that's where the what they say was the fruit and the light, and it was spike. I asked Frederick Dunston.
So you had to go down another set of stairs for that. That was.
So I asked Frederick Dunston about that. I said, Frederick, it was rumored that when the light came on, that it indicated that the punch was spiked. He said, no, that's not true. That's not true. Well, I'm not sure if Frederick was telling me the truth on that or not.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, it was a lot of people that be running to that punch when that light. I don't know what it was about that light.
Yeah, maybe I missed the light, but I drank a lot of that punch. I don't remember feeling high.
Right. And where I was heading with this was when I was dancing around the parameters of the club, I would see people on the floor dancing. And these people were, in my opinion, they were releasing their weekly frustration. I mean, people was just looking up, and their hands was up in the air, and it was like eyes closed and all this, like it was a church sermon, and they came to the altar just to release all of their burdens.
Yeah. You know what I loved about that place too, Dana, is that people were they were living for the music, and there wasn't this kind of idea of like, I like this song and I don't like this song.
No.
You just were there. You were so present with everybody, and that's why it could go for like 10 hours.
Oh God! And I remember falling in there sometimes, and the sun would be shining. Oh my God! Okay, I'm gonna give you another thing about the warehouse that people may not know. Some people will know who went there.
Okay.
Coming out of the alley in St. Patrick's Church.
Okay. Say more.
So we're leaving, and the church is starting.
And where was St. Patrick's Church? Where was that located?
So St. Patrick's Church was on Des Plaines, was it?
Okay.
And, so it was on Des Plaines. It's there today. It's still there to this day.
So you're coming out of the alley.
We're coming out of the alley, and the parishioners are going into the church.
Wow.
And if you can just take an image of those outlandish outfits that they would have on, okay, and the parishioners coming over trying to pray everybody out of this behavior. Oh my God, it was a force to be reckoned. And that just enticed the kids to just cut up more.
Right.
And it was like, I was like, right. I laughed. It was and me being Catholic, and I understood where they were coming from, but I would laugh because to me it was funny. They
were going to mass, and you were coming from church.
Experience.
They were going to mass, and y'all were coming from church.
Exactly. We were right. We were coming from church, from the Baptist, good old Baptist church.
The Church of the Warehouse.
Right, Church of the Warehouse, and the Church of the Warehouse met the St. Patrick's Catholic Parisian.
Yes.
Orthodox versus the Warehouse. And I
think it's all the same. It's all the spiritual experience. Everybody's trying to find God, right?
It really is. And, people get so caught up in religion and that they lose sight of a lot of things. But, I'm not the person to tell a person how to believe or what they should believe in or how they should practice their belief. That's their relationship with God. And that's strictly up to them. I have no right in that at all. The only thing that I can govern is what I do. And that's it. I can offer suggestions to other people, but it's up to them whether or not they want to take it or not.
Yeah. Your spiritual path is a very personal thing.
Absolutely.
I believe that you can believe what you want to believe, but that's your belief. You don't need to impose it on anybody because then it becomes something else. That's not spiritual, in my opinion.
And I remember when the Black church was angry at several songs that was being played in the club.
What? Like angry. What?
The Mighty Clouds of Joy, Revelations, Get Ready. It was a whole lot. They was like, these songs do not belong in no disco. And it was a big well-to-do about that. A lot of people don't know that, but it was a big well-to-do. But at the same time, it just reflects. I reflect back to when Jesus was going to Peter's house frequently, and the crowd stopped him and asked him, "Why does he go to this house all the time? Why do you go there all the time?" And Jesus said, "I go to anyone's home who welcomes me,
who wants me." That's right.
Right. You understand what I'm saying? Anyone's home who welcome me. So anybody comes with anything opposite of that, saying that he would beat you down, and you need to read a little bit more. And then secondly, he went on to say,
preach, Dana.
And then secondly, he went on to say, "I've come to help the sinners." So if you're not doing anything to help anybody, then there you have it. I'll just end it on that note.
Shut up, then.
Yeah.
I'm with you, but I don't think that's a new concept. I talk about my great-grandfather's church, Robert's Temple, his family church on 4th and State Street, and Sister Rosetta Tharpe, godmother of rock and roll, came out of that church. And just because she started singing, she was and very intentionally distanced from that church.
Yes.
Because she was brought that her church energy into what they call secular music at the time.
Right.
So the church has always had tension with anything that they don't deem appropriate for praising God,
and then scripture becomes a convenience at that time.
It becomes a tool to beat you down.
Yes. Now all of a sudden, God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, or this, that, instead of the many things that you've done that we can quote scripture on to say that it is that you should not do, but I look at those people. And I just go, I do the buckwheat on a lot. I've learned that over time. Buckwheat, every time you look at Ote. So a lot of people, I just look at them and their ministries and their position in life. And I'll just simply say, Ote. I'm not going to offer an argument on that. Why? You're a grown adult, and there's nothing that I'm going to do to alter your opinion. And I'm not going to try.
I agree. And I want to get into your DJ career. But before we do that, I want to ask this question because you hit on it, about this tension with disco, gay music, religion, what have you. I think that continues to this day, especially the part that where you said that disco was not really embraced until it went underground. And then that sort of started this underground development of a new genre. That sort of helped us lead into punk and sort of the fusion of disco and where we started thinking about like house music culture.
Correct.
And let me just finish this statement. And there's been a fair amount of what I call straight washing of that whole evolution. And I just want to hear your thoughts on that evolution. And if you think that there is what I would call sort of straight washing of that.
Well, I do, and I believe it's unnecessary. And I'm going to speak to that too, because I don't want anyone to get offended in thinking that that's a blanket statement, but that's a conditional statement. And I'm going to define it.
Okay.
When we look at this, then we have to look. Okay, I'm going to define nightclub, and then you're going to see where I'm going with this. It's going to be very good. So when we look at the word nightclub and the origin of that, the origin of nightclub, it predates 1840. Okay, so it was night and club, a combination mix. A lot of the times it was reference to the French burlesque clubs. It was a lot of stuff that was happening there was a bit risque. Okay, things that they had not seen before. They were coming out of the agricultural revolution and they was going into something new. Romanticism has ushered in, classism was going away, and all of these new things had begun to happen. Okay, so in about 1840, in the nightclubs, that's where most of the African Americans were at the time. Okay, so I'm not going to spend any time there because we're on limited time. So fast forward.
Are you saying 1840?
1840, correct.
1840 in the United States?
Over a century ago. Well over a century ago.
In the United States or in France?
In the world. This is something that happened in the world at that time. Okay, because remember the agricultural revolution came out of France, And then the Industrial Revolution was in Great Britain at the time. So, well, just after that. And then it came into the United States when they set up the colonies and everything. Just a little history. But at any rate, all of that to say, in nightclub was heavily used, like in Chicago, New York, and Detroit, because a lot of places did not want to cater to African Americans. Period. We were Black at the time, or Afro American, Negro, whichever part of time we were at. Okay, we've been all of those. Okay, so they did not want to have us in the clubs, not just gay, but Black also. This is where I have a problem with the straight washing and all this other stuff, because everybody was thrown into that same pool, whether you were gay or straight. It was if you were Black.
And what years are you describing now?
I'm describing like like we're looking at 60s, 70s.
So 1960s and 70s. Yes.
And some of that even spilled over into the 80s, because we got to look at Chicago.
Yeah, of course. I agree.
We have to look at Chicago when a lot of people went up north to hang out in the clubs. You know, the white people that went in, they'll just do one ID. They wanted 3 or 4 IDs from us.
Oh yeah, we've heard those stories.
It's Blacks, so it still happened. It still was going on. So my thing is, why is it always when it comes to us African Americans, we have to separate when we all were in the same boat from the very beginning? So why is it that we're coming out and we have to separate? Why can't we just embrace this wonderful thing that came out of Chicago, this house culture that came out of Chicago, and just support it and love on one another?
Well, the argument I hear, Dana, is that when house music is referenced, when queer people or gay people are referenced as part of the genesis of house music, that men, specifically men who don't identify as gay or who were not out, they feel like it takes away from their contributions.
Okay, so we're dealing with a very powerful term here: men who don't identify as gay. I mean, we can read a lot into that.
Well, men who identify as straight.
Okay. So, I just want to make sure that we everything is clear here, because some people.
Yeah, well, there's both of those things that exist.
Exactly. It's both.
There were a lot of closeted men who were at the beginning of house music.
Exactly.
Who still may not be comfortable being out about their status, and there were a lot of heterosexuals too.
Because if that were the case, why were you trying to break down the door to get where we are? Get inside the clubs. I mean, people were dressing up, to have that illusion to come inside the gay underground clubs.
Well, there was something special going on at the Warehouse and Music Box and these places where you had these gay DJs. And I would even go so far as to say at Paradise Garage and many other clubs that were part of that underground scene. But when you try to give credit to people who helped to create a new genre, then it feels less, I don't want to attribute too much to that. I want to say that, it informed me, but that's not who I am. And I'm not trying to take that away from them, but I do feel like they hit it a little too hard too often.
Well, and I agree with you on that. And this is not to subvert any of their destinies. I bid them all well in their vocation. But at the same time, it's certainly no esoteric secret that this exists.
Right.
And it's an unnecessary existence. I will say that. And I'll be strongly in saying that.
Yeah.
Your contribution is your contribution, and no one can take that away from you.
Absolutely.
No one can take any of that away from you. That is your contribution, and we embrace that contribution, because at the end of the day, everybody played the same damn records that came out of Chicago. Whatever club it was, gay, straight, white, or Black, they all played the same records, tracks, DJ International, etc. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody played the same records.
That's amazing.
So there was no restriction or no societal rejection on the music at that time.
I appreciate you saying that. It's a really good way to frame it. People weren't looking at the records going, is this gay or straight? They were just playing. Yeah.
Correct. We were just playing, and everybody was living and everybody was having a wonderful time.
So let's talk about some of your DJ career, because you've done a lot. We talked a little bit about Stop and Drink in the beginning of this episode. Stop and Drink was a bar on South Clark Street. And North Clark Street near Chicago Avenue. Correct. Still there. Tyrone Mix was the DJ. So how did you get introduced? Was that your first residency, Dana?
In Chicago.
In Chicago. So you were you started DJing in Gary.
Yeah. So I started in Indiana.
Okay.
And then it came a point in life where I had to go to undergraduate school. And I'll tell that story because I don't think I told this story yet. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think in any of the interviews.
So you went to undergraduate school?
Yes. My mother was ill when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. She was dying of cancer.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And my mother pulled me into her room one day. And she told me, she said, I need for you to promise me something. I said, what is that? She said that you will go to college and that you will get an education. Mm-hmm. And so, at the time, okay, mama, yeah, no problem with that, blah, blah, blah. So how did I know that was going to be my last conversation with her at that point? So during the times of partying, mm-hmm. I got grace from my mother to go out to a lot of these clubs because she didn't want my sisters going by themselves. Mm-hmm. So I tagged along in a sense, but I was a part of the culture. Okay. In fact, more than her. I think of my sister that was a year younger than I, who was deceased. She and I became running buddies with a couple mm-hmm. other friends of mine and a cousin, and we started all going together. So when I got out of high school, I went to college. Mm-hmm. So I left the scene and I went to college because I not only did I promise my mother this education, but I wanted it for myself, mm-hmm. and I continued on. And I do remember after undergraduate school, my uncle told me that I should go to law school. And that's mm-hmm. my single greatest regret is not listening to my uncle and going to law school.
Never too late.
It's no, it's not. It's not. This is what he wanted, and mm-hmm. I did not do it because at that time I finished undergraduate school. Mm-hmm. I had moved into Chicago, and I was a part of the movement of the mm-hmm. Great Underground, and I loved it. So years after that, I was still living in Indiana. And I was going backwards and forwards to Chicago, and I was mm-hmm. playing records in Indiana. So then that's when I met Tyrone, and we started having conversations.
Okay.
And then he invited me to come and join him at Stop and Drink.
Gotcha. What year was that, Dana?
89 or 90, something like that.
I was gonna guess late 80s, right?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yes. And that's when that started. Mm-hmm. He and I. And then from there, the design of the generator had come into form.
And the generator, talk about the generator. So this was a club on Halsted Street?
Mm-hmm. Right, at Halsted and Fulton.
Who were the owners and what
Jim and Nick. Don't ask me to pronounce their last names. They were Polish.
Jim and Nick.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And they owned the generator. They opened in, I believe it was early 90s, right?
Yes, it was 93. It was 93. I believe it was the Memorial Day weekend was the mm-hmm. opening for that. And it had the same growth as the warehouse.
Yeah.
Okay. At the beginning, it wasn't very many people going, mm-hmm. as was the warehouse. And I always compare this to that because it was a similar story. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly everyone began to go to the warehouse and the warehouse became popular. I would say, maybe the 1980-ish, Well,
it was only open for 5 years from 77 to 82. When I was going there, 79, 80, it was packed every week.
Yeah. And when I returned in 80, I want to say in 80 or something, mm-hmm. That's when I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. This is groovy. So I started going pretty regularly. There was clubs on the north side that I was going to, blah, blah, blah.
You're talking about the warehouse again?
Mm-hmm. And I used the growth of it for the generator because after a while we were so packed that we couldn't even do anything.
I remember the generator being packed. My friend, so I was a DJ at CK's Augie's. I don't know if you remember, mm-hmm. that was a lesbian bar.
Saturday I know.
And my friend Pickles was the DJ, was the bartender at
CK's. Bartender?
And then she went to after they closed. She was a bartender at Generator.
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah. I remember, correct. So I remember hanging out there a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pickles, she was one of our bartenders. She was very good, very nice person.
She's great. Pickles, if you're watching.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. We had a lot of really good bartenders and employees at the generator.
Yeah. So you were working. So you were at Stop and Drink. You spend that. You were the DJ there. Were you the regular DJ? Like what nights were you there?
Yeah. So it was Friday night, and Tyrone did Saturday night, something like that.
Yeah. And then simultaneously was the generator, or was that after?
No. It was after.
Okay.
After the Stop and Drink closed.
That's right.
And then it was a break in time before the generator opened.
Okay. That's good.
Chicago is Chicago, and licenses is licenses, and all of this.
Always some issues.
You have to. You know how it goes. You know how that.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Vintage House Show podcast. Please subscribe and share, and check us out live, WNUR 89.3 FM, Wednesdays at 10 o'clock.